Thank you, Council President, and thank you, colleagues, for all your words that you shared. I want to just start off by talking directly to Councilwoman Park. Councilwoman Park, witnessing the work that you and your team have been doing for your district and Palisades has been very inspiring and motivating. Like, you all are coming up a once-in-a-generational catastrophe happening in one neighborhood, but you have been on the ground letting the entire city know what's happening in your district, advocating for your constituents. And it's just, I can't imagine a better response from you. So thank you for being that example for all of us. Some of us who are very privileged that we did not get impacted by the fires. Air quality, of course, but I just want to say thank you for your leadership in just some really tough times. I can't imagine the 24-hour cycles that you and your team have been on continuously. And to that, I also want to say to my colleagues, you know, we are a city of 15 districts, but everybody around this horseshoe has come together in one way or another to support each other, to support Councilwoman Park. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield gave our district 1,000 masks. Councilmember McCosker is helping us obtain more resources. And I know that is happening all in the back scenes of everything, but that for me is just reassuring that we all care about Los Angeles, that we all love our people, that we are willing to do whatever it takes, regardless of what it is, to make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind. So thank you, colleagues, for reaching out, for being there for each other and all of us. I think there's no other better example of government working at its best other than this moment right here. So thank you. I also want to thank our city workers and especially our firefighters who have worked around the clock and continue to work now to respond to this crisis. And I want to just again uplift my colleague Councilwoman Park and your entire team for what you're doing and how you're advocating for your constituents. It's just awe-inspiring. We have only started to scratch the surface of the devastation facing our city, and the ripples of impact stretch far and wide. In addition to the immediate and overwhelming loss of life and place in the Palisades that our neighbors in Altadena are facing, there are still thousands of people who are displaced by evacuation warnings. There are countless workers, people who worked as gardeners and caretakers who are now out of work. Businesses all across the city, not only have they stepped up in this moment to feed everybody, but they are also some of the folks who are directly impacted by these fires. So just a shout out to all the small businesses here in the city of LA who've thrown down while at the same time experiencing the blunt force of this crisis. They all came together to feed people. Countless Angelenos who are now housing friends and family and neighbors who have been displaced. You know, we have a city that's already grappling with the worst housing and homelessness crisis of our lifetime, and we're now facing an unprecedented and overnight displacement of thousands of people. Again, the ripple effects will be felt far and wide and for years to come, and the toll of the collective trauma from this catastrophe will be difficult to ever fully measure in real terms. I also want to uplift the extraordinary outpouring of support that we've all seen this last week. This has been one of the worst tragedies in our history, but it has brought out the best in so many Angelenos. And we see this again and again in times of tragedy, because at our core, and especially those around this horseshoe, we are oriented to care for one another. We are called to help our neighbors and protect the most vulnerable among us, and Angelenos have answered that call, and you all have answered that call time and time again. As elected officials, we have the incredible privilege and responsibility to build a government that cares for our most vulnerable in our city. And this is true in times of crisis like the one that we're in now, and it is also true when we are not in crises. Orienting ourselves and our government towards care requires a fundamental shift, not just locally, but nationally as well. And it requires us to see that once-in-a-generation disasters that are happening year after year and make a decision that put people ahead of profit and to invest in the systems that will prevent harm and catastrophe from happening in the first place. And I'm almost done, Council President, but I just want to uplift Councilmember Eunisses, what you said around climate change, around the environment. That needs to be at the forefront of this conversation, because once-in-a-generation catastrophes are happening year after year after year, the earthquake and other events. So this is not new to us. So I look forward how we as a city move forward with that lens as well. My team and my district are incredibly fortunate that we did not have any evacuation orders, and instead we got to focus on aiding our neighboring districts and addressing the very real secondary impacts of this disaster. Together with Rec and Parks, we were able to open up Alpine Recreation Center as an air quality relief center for people to escape the smoke and ash, pick up masks and food, and find respite. We did this because in the first days of the fire, we mobilized to distribute masks and supplies to people experiencing homelessness throughout the district and found that so many didn't even know about the fires and certainly did not have access to PPE to protect themselves. Literally going tent to tent and people had no idea of the crisis happening around them. I want to point this out because as we see climate emergencies year after year that compound our housing and homelessness emergencies, and that this certainly is no exception, this event. Today, I'm introducing legislation to address the impact of this tragedy and protect vulnerable tenants to prevent this catastrophe from furthering our existing housing affordability crisis. I know that there will be much more to discuss in the coming days and months as we begin the long road to recovery, and I know we're all committed to do a full assessment of the city's response and to improving our emergency response during these times of crises. Thank you, colleagues, and my heart, and anything you need, Councilwoman Park, our team is down to throw down with you and your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Price.